What's happening, YouTube? This is Robert, and this is my third video in my HTML series, which I actually noticed and wanted to point out that I've been labeling the videos differently than what I've been saying inside of the videos. So I'm skipping video 2 labeling and going straight to video 3, so it's matching up what I'm saying from here on out. And in this video, we're actually diving into the coding. You know, Robert, how do I create notes to myself without showing it in the browser? What the heck are attributes? What do they have to do with elements in HTML? And we're actually going to initiate files and that boilerplate code that we've discussed in previous videos. For now, let's jump over to our editor and initiate some files and boilerplate code. Here we are in the editor. And first thing I'm going to do is open up my File Explorer. Inside my File Explorer, I've got the HTML project here. And you can call that folder whatever you want. Inside of it, it's empty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this HTML project folder I've created onto my editor. You'll notice I said it was empty. And here, if I create a file and I save it as a .html file, then it does the same thing inside of my File Explorer. Everything controlled through Sublime happens on your computer where you've saved the file. It's all the same file path. Now, inside the editor, we can actually start typing out all of our HTML, the doc type declaration, the HTML root tag. But instead of actually typing that out, Sublime comes with a nifty feature where if you type HTML and press tab, out of the box, it's going to give you that full declaration, that full boilerplate code that you need to get started. With mine, I have a package installed called Emmet, and all I need is an exclamation, and my exclamation mark will do the same as your HTML. So what we're going to do is press tab after we've typed what we need, and inside the title you can call it whatever you want. That's initiating files and the boilerplate code. Now let's jump into commenting. Comment is an opening angle bracket, exclamation, hyphen, hyphen. That's 2 of those. And then closing commenting tag consists of 2 hyphens and a closing angle bracket. So opening comment tag, closing comment tag, and everything in between is what you can comment. So let's go over to the editor and do this. So in the text editor, we can use that same syntax: opening angle bracket, exclamation, double hyphen, any comment, and then we're going to have another double hyphen and a closing angle bracket for the closing tag. So anything in between there, including multiple lines. If I want to create any comments for any length in between 2 tags, that's a great way to do it. Let's go ahead and jump into the shortcut. So if I want to comment here, I can highlight just what I want to comment out and what I want to see. Here I can press Control// and it's going to comment out what I've highlighted. Another way to do it is to put your cursor right there on any line and press Control/, and it's going to allow you to comment out that entire line. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like in the browser though. I've created a comment here and I'm gonna press Control+S to save. Now if you right click, you can open up in a browser, and right here I've created my comment. But wait, I don't want to see this in the browser. That's what we don't want to see. If I press Control/, now it's commented out and I can save that. And if you press refresh in your browser, boom, no comment is seen. This won't affect the flow of your code. You got the shortcut, really easy to do. And that's it on commenting. Within the opening tag of any HTML element, an attribute can be specified which provides additional information about that element, typically a name-value pair. Right here, the name of the attribute and the value it provides. So what do we want this attribute to behave like, and what does this attribute mean for the element? On this page, I've written out just a few different attributes that I've seen pretty often. We're just going to go over a couple of these. If I went over all of them, it'd be a complete waste of your time. So what I'm going to do is jump over to my editor and we'll go over just a few of these. For the sake of sticking to the subject of attributes, I'm not going to go over too much what the tags are, but for now, let me just show you the shortcut. Any tag that you type, you can hit tab and it's going to create that tag for you. And so rather than building out this link tag with an href equals this and then a closing, I can instead just hit A and press tab and it's going to build that out for me. And most of these are the same. If I hit body and hit tab, or if I hit head and I hit tab, it's going to create those for me. That said, we have an attribute here. We have the name of the attribute and the value, which is currently blank, and the name is currently href. This entire tag is a link. If we put right here, link to Google, then that's what that will become. Not that it'll automatically link to Google, but that's what will appear on the page to link to. Inside of the href, we have a URL. You can make it a local file on your computer, on your computer's file system, or you can link it to an actual http:// and google.com as an example. Okay, so now we have the name, which is href, and the value, which is what we want the href to provide. And this href tells our tag, our entire link, how to behave. If we had it pointed to another page in our own local file system, every time that link was clicked, it would take them to that page in your file on your computer. In this case, we're just putting an actual link to google.com, and that's it. So let's save this and see what it looks like in the browser. Remember to hit refresh, and we've got our link to Google. Now if I click on this, it's going to reload my page and become google.com. And right away we can learn about another attribute called target. Now what target does is it's going to tell our browser whether we want this link to open up in a new tab or if we want it to reload our current page. We might want our users to stay on our page and instead open this link to a different page in a new tab. So let's try this. How do we do this? Target is the attribute. So what's the value that we can use? The default value is _self. If you leave this target attribute and self value off completely, it would essentially mean the same thing. So instead, what we're going to do is name this _blank. Don't forget the underscore. Don't forget the quotations. Now, target is the attribute and _blank is the value. So if we save this and pop over back to our page, you might have to press back to get back from Google back to your page, and go ahead and refresh that page. Now, when you click link to Google, it's going to open that up in a new tab over here. So this is a complete tag using two different attributes to help describe how this link should behave. Let's jump into another example, the image tag. And once you hit tab, you got two different attributes here right away with no value currently in them. The source is going to behave similar to the href. I mentioned that you can use a file path, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder inside of this folder by right clicking and saying new folder, and down here I'm going to say image folder. Inside of image folder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in another image from my computer, and I'll be right back when I get that done. Alright, and so now I've created an image inside this image folder. This is the crazy image right here. And what I'm going to do is I've got to tell my source attribute where to find it on my computer. Now, it automatically assumes that I'm inside of this page right here, firstpage.html. So right here. Now, this is a sibling to the image folder inside of HTML project. So HTML project is the parent of the image and first page. Image and first page are siblings basically. The image folder contains a child YouTube header.png, which is the image we just created. And so that's the file structure. We'll get into that another video. But basically what we need to do is we start with the one that we're in, and what we've got to do is move into this folder and then find that file. And so we just type in image folder so that we go over to the sibling, and then we put / YouTube header.png because that's the name of the file. So theoretically you could put an HTTP URL into this path, into this source attribute as its value, and that would link to a page that's active on the internet that contains the image. And before we jump over and see it in the browser, let's discuss the alt attribute and value. And so the alt is a accessibility for screen readers and for vision impaired users who listen to the content more than they look at it. So we want to tell the screen reader what to tell the user this is. Now if you say that this is an image, now that's getting redundant because the screen reader is already going to know it's an image, and it's going to tell the user that this is an image of what though? And that's where this alt tag comes in. And it's also going to replace the image. So if you can't see the image, instead you might see this text. And so what we want to write in here is something telling the screen reader and the user what exactly this is an image of. And in this case, I'm just going to say developer design. Now let's go ahead and save this whole thing and go back into our browser, and we can close out this extra tab, refresh our page, and look at that. We've still got our link to Google no matter how many times I click that. Currently it's on _blank as the target, and so that's always going to open a new tab. And now we have this huge image back in the editor. What we want to do is we can use a couple of other attributes to control the size of this image. Now these attributes are particular to image and video and a couple other elements that we'll get into over time. The first is width, and as you might have guessed, the second is height. If you look inside of each of these for their values, we can say we want it 400 pixels wide and perhaps 300 pixels tall, just picking random numbers here. Now if I was to press save and refresh my browser, now we have this 400 pixels wide and 300 pixels tall design that you can barely see anything inside of. So let's say we decide we want it double that size, 800 by 600. Control S for save, refresh our browser, boom. Something more reasonable. You can see the design now, you can see the entirety of the whole thing. So that's it for height, width, attributes. Again, there are a lot of these things. Do a Google search for complete list of HTML attributes and you will see Mozilla Developer Network, MDN.com. That's going to pop up. W3 Schools has a good one, and several of them are out there that you might like better, one or the other. So check those out. That's it in this video. If you have any questions, comment below and I will follow up. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.